Okay. All right. Well, finally, welcome everybody. I'm Adam Blue. This is the episode 1 of the Soulscast. This is a new series that has to do with the Dark Souls series, Bloodborne, and all that. And with me is Shane Norton. Shane, if you want to say hi.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Yeah, and so, man, putting this together today was just as hard as playing these games. I mean, we're trying Google Hangouts, trying Skype. So hopefully this time around it works out. So basically what this is I just recently got into the series through Instagram. I found out, Shane was into the series and he had a blog, and I enjoyed reading his blog, but due to us having families, it's sometimes hard to take the time to blog when you're already wanting the time to play the video games. That's how I am. Like, as much as I like to make content, I would rather kind of play. So anyway, yeah, so this will be maybe weekly, maybe every 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes. Each week or 2 weeks we'll have a topic. Today's episode is Origins. We're going to pretty much talk about how we got into the series, kind of what you can expect from our different perspectives. I consider myself the noob, and Shane's kind of more of the master, I guess. From reading his blogs, is just the way he describes things. He knows the stuff. So, all right, if we want to get started, Shane, if you want to, I'll let you go first. Talk about how you got into the series.
Yeah. I think Demon Souls, which is the first one in the series, came out in 2009. I had read about it a bunch. I was excited about it. I heard it was like super hard and all that stuff. So I wanted to buy it, but I never had the money or I never had the chance to buy it or whatever. But sometime in 2010, I think the fall of 2010, I finally bought it and played it and liked it. But then I got stuck for a bit, so I kind of stopped. Then I picked it back up and played through it and beat it, I'm pretty sure. Dark Souls came out, and I got much more excited about that, and that's basically where the obsession came from. My wife can vouch for the obsession that started with Dark Souls, and then Dark Souls 2 came out. Obviously, played that and loved it, and I just played through and got the platinum on Bloodborne as well, and that's basically my history. I could say a lot more, but that's the short version.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I guess, like, you said Dark Souls is kind of when it got you into it.
Yeah, I would say so. I liked Demon Souls a lot, and I thought about it a lot, and I played it a lot. But Dark Souls is when I really was like, this is. It was already probably like my favorite series at that time.
Do you think like it could have also been part of like Demon Souls was like a surprise hit, and then the community built up, and then everyone's excited about Dark Souls, and that kind of helps, get you excited?
Yeah, I think the community. I wasn't part of the community with Demon Souls. Besides 2 friends I had that played it. So when Dark Souls came out, I was much more active on forums and reading stuff, and I think with each game, the community has gotten a lot bigger anyway.
Yeah.
But,
I'm surprised.
It's for the games being so niche, I would say it's pretty nice that they're so popular.
Right. All right, so for me, real quick, like, gaming is my life. I love gaming, and so I play anything just to try it, even if I don't think I'll like it. When I first heard about Demon Souls, it sounded like my type of game. It's just a combat I love action games. The combat melee system is hard. And when I played it, it just didn't, I guess it's that it didn't click. I didn't know that this was like, one of those games where, are you good enough? Are you good enough of a gamer to beat it? So it was just more like, well, that seems a little frustrating. I have other things to play. This isn't keeping my interest. So then I heard about Dark Souls coming out, and I remember how that's supposed to be like a spiritual successor. And I was like, you know what? I can't believe how excited this series is. I'm going to have to, play this one. So what I did, though, was, because there's so much coming out, and this is around the time when I was, even though I own all the consoles, I was always getting stuff on PC because I just liked having the high-end PC and playing the game. So I was waiting for the PC version to come out. And it did, and, that's a whole other story. But
Yeah.
again, like I think Dark Souls got me even more frustrated because at the beginning you walk down to where there's like a couple different ways you can start the game. I walked down toward the catacombs where the skeletons are. That was so
Yep.
tough. I was like,
That's a mistake.
yeah, I'm not playing this game. So I just pretty much just stopped, and then Dark Souls 2 came around, and I always told myself, you know what, when there's a Steam sale, I'll get it. And then Bloodborne came out, and I was like, man, I love the way this looks, and it's on PS4. I'll just go ahead and rent it, you know. And that's you messaged or you made a comment on an Instagram post about when I got it, and I wasn't thinking of anything of it. And you obviously had no idea what my intentions were. I was just thinking I'll just play it, die, and then give up. Well, it was so, I don't know, it just clicked right away. It was so satisfying, even though I died all the time, that I just had to keep going. And so I played through Bloodborne, and it took me about a week to kill the cleric beast.
Yeah.
It took me, and once that happened, I gotta say it was smooth sailing. It was like the rest of it's like I did it. I was growing my beard for the first time.
Yeah.
I beat cleric beast, and I'm just going through, and I'm murdered. I'm like, man, I really like this, and so
yeah, you ended up going through the game faster than me and beating the game faster than me. And I think even getting the platinum faster than I did, even though I think I had started before you, and before you beat Cleric Beast, I was ahead of you because I beat Cleric Beast, I think the first night I had it. But after you did that, I remember reading on your blog and just in general, you just flew through it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I remember you were further than me, and I was keeping up on your blog, and I would only read enough, and that's what I liked about how you described everything. It wasn't too much information. It was just enough that I got the feeling. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what's next. I remember when you were first talking about the first optional area, which was Old Yarnum. That made me even more excited about playing. When you were talking, I was like, man, there's an option. So I remember when I beat Father Gascoigne, I was like, my first thought was to run around and look for Old Yarnum, because I had no idea where it was, but I was like, man, I know about this optional area. But anyway, it took me a month to beat in Platinum Bloodborne. It was about 80 hours. And I have Dark Souls on 360, so I jumped onto that, and that, again, took me a little less than a month, about 40 plus hours, and I went through that like it was nothing. That was pretty easy for me. I don't know if it's because of Bloodborne, but
that probably helped.
Yeah.
But the games are so different that you can play Dark Souls the way you play Bloodborne, but it's not really made that way to play it.
Yeah. So like, well, for you, how was it going from Dark Souls 2 to Bloodborne?
It was not too bad. I think by the time, trying to think, I had relied on shields for most of Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and I think some of Dark Souls 2, but I think by the end of Dark Souls 2, I had played through it so much, I was getting a little more adventurous, and I was either two-handing more. I didn't dual wield, but I was two-handing the weapons more, and I was just getting more confident in the way that the game played. So it wasn't a huge deal. There not being shields in Bloodborne, I didn't care at all, and I actually really enjoyed the faster combat of Bloodborne as opposed to the more thought out, planned approach of the first three games, basically. Yeah. So it wasn't a huge jump.
Okay, and that's what's interesting about Bloodborne. So I like it because it's so fast, and that's the thing about Dark Souls. It was just so slow, originally. But Bloodborne is so fast. In my opinion, that's what made me get into it more, but I think that's what made it harder, in my opinion. Like, because honestly, when I went through Dark Souls, I can't say it wasn't that hard. It was hard, and it was scary. But
it's hard, but it's not like, I guess I play so much now, but looking back, there's really, like, 2 or 3 bosses that are difficult, and there's some pretty tough areas of the game, but it's not a super hard game.
Yeah, like
It is, but I guess it isn't. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's one of the it's about mastering. It's one of the few games that is designed perfectly, that the mechanics are laid out and drawn out to you. They are telling you this is how you play the game and you will win. But it's a matter of you thinking quickly to know which mechanic to use when you can either master it or you can't, you know? And you have to have the patience. And I think because Bloodborne is so fast, I didn't have to rely on my patience as much because I could quickly get back and quickly fight mobs. Like, you know, I didn't have to wait to find some guy around the corner, like, you know, the bonfire area in in Bloodborne, where you see all the huntsmen. There's tons of them. Like, that's just enemies you can just lay on, and I was using the whip, and that was great. And then that got me so Dark Souls, and now I'm on Dark Souls 2, and I'll get to that later when we're talking about what we're playing right now. But I'm playing Dark Souls 2 right now, and I'm level 59, 9 hours in. I feel like I'm way too high level than I should be. I've only beat like 3 bosses, and it just
Dark Souls 2 you level up way faster than any of the other games.
Okay.
And Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, you're much lower level. Dark Souls 2 levels fly by.
Okay, well then
so
good.
that's I think that's probably fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so with that out of the way about how we got into the series, and that's funny to add and to finish this off for me myself. You know, starting with April, it's been amazing for me, gaming being my favorite hobby, that I found a series that has like made me more excited about gaming than ever, because I'm just so each game is so great that I can play over and over. Like, I don't care about playing other games now that I can play these games and play them over and over. I remember before these games, I guess my favorites were like Ninja Gaiden on Xbox, Ocarina of Time, you know, games like that. And it's funny because this year has been amazing for games in general, because at the beginning of the year, I decided to play all the Zeldas I never finished, which was Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, and Skyward Sword. And I beat Twilight Princess, and I was like, wow, I loved this so much more than Ocarina. And so, like,
Twilight Princess was awesome.
Yeah, and I'm so lucky, I guess, this year that, like, everything has just gotten better and better. And then, I just can't wait to see what's next, especially with Bloodborne. Okay, so...
Yeah.
So next up, this is a question I think will change every time we do a Soulscast. But I would like to hear what you think right now, Shane. So, right now in your mind, when you're thinking of the series, what right now is the one game that stands out that you like the most, and why?
I gave this a pretty good amount of thought, and every time I sit down to think what's my favorite of the 4 games, it's tough because they're so different yet they're so similar.
Right.
But I don't know. If I had to say right now, probably Dark Souls 2 in like a very, very tiny number. Maybe the original Dark Souls. The original Dark Souls has more nostalgia because, like I said, that really hooked me. Dark Souls 2, I just really liked a lot of the changes they made to the combat. Everything was smoother. I mean, the graphics were better. They weren't like insanely good. There was a whole controversy about the graphics being dumbed down from the original screenshots and like the original press videos they showed. But I liked the combat a lot. The bosses, I know a lot of people didn't like them. I thought they were fine for the most part, but I guess Dark Souls 2. Bloodborne is obviously the freshest in my mind, so I really enjoyed that. There was a few things about it that kind of bugged me, but I will say Dark Souls 2 today, and tomorrow will probably be something else.
Yeah, okay. Well, what is it about Bloodborne that, without going into too much detail, what is it about Bloodborne that kind of bugged you?
Really, just the small, and then this is, these are complaints I've read from a lot of different people on forums and things like that. The small variety of weapons was a little disappointing, because Dark Souls 2 I read has like 200 plus. And I know a lot of them are kind of the same, so it's really not like that many, but Bloodborne has like 15, and then there's 9 or 10 guns or something like that. So that was kind of annoying. And then just the Chalice dungeons I thought were not implemented as well as they could have been. They got real monotonous.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then I think really just like build variety, and that doesn't matter to me too much, as I basically am always straight ahead melee.
Mm-hmm.
But build variety is very, very well. There's not much of it.
Yeah,
It kind of funnels you into strength, hit real fast with your weapons, but I mean they're minor issues in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, compared to everything.
I had a fun time.
Yeah, and so with Bloodborne, I do think the Chalice dungeons were way too samesies, like throughout the whole thing. Like I really think they probably it's a good idea, like you're saying, but they could have
great idea.
Changed things up a little more, maybe use different assets. But what's funny is a lot of it is story based, even though you think it's like some side random things you could do. The Chalice dungeons, that's where it all kind of started in a way, if you go by the story, which that's a whole other episode for us to do. But it's interesting when you brought up the weapons, because with Dark Souls, I'm like, oh, there's all these weapons, but it's like, who cares? They're all the same. So Dark Souls 2, I'm almost thinking the same thing. It's like, there's so many weapons, but who cares? But then I'm reading about like 2 weapons that are very similar, but one has like an extra combo move you can do that might be your play style.
Yeah.
One, you can actually, if you use a certain type of magic, it might act a different way. So it almost reminds me of Borderlands, where Borderlands has all these guns, and some of them are just whatever, but some might have this unique ability that just makes that very cool to find and use, Yeah,
that's not a bad analogy. That's actually, I never thought of it like that, but I love Borderlands. My wife and I played through both of them, and I absolutely love them. That's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah, and I think I would like if they explored that even further. If they made, maybe that will happen as I get further in Dark Souls 2, but I like the idea of there's so many weapons, and you look at the stats, you read the descriptions, and this could just have some extra, like, +5 poison on it. And it's like, what? I might as well hold on to this +5 poison one. Stuff like that. But, okay, so this week, for me, I'm going to say Dark Souls is my favorite game. Even though Bloodborne blew my mind, and I swore by it, and I still do, I rented it, beat it, and then I still bought the collector's edition, and then I bought the collector's edition guide. I just had to have it,
Yeah, that guy looks awesome.
But, like, the one thing that's annoying about Dark Souls, but that made me love it, made me appreciate it, is how there's no quick travel through most of the game. And even then, it's not everywhere. Because I felt so connected to the world and everything around me in Dark Souls. Like, I feel like I know every place. Like, and it's just like, I feel like it's so big, but that I know every inch of it. And I'm not lost, even though I am. I'm lost in the fearful way where, like, I'm so far away I can get killed. But not that, like... Yeah, not that, like, it's just that, so it's like I think about Dark Souls a lot, and I even started a new character instead of New Game Plus, because I'm now doing it, on 360 I didn't have the DLC, but on PC I have the DLC, so I'm playing through again, and I want to do, because like Bloodborne, I even killed all the optional bosses, so for Dark Souls I want to say that I've killed all the bosses, and right now I'm playing, and actually that'll be the next part, So anyway, to close this off, right now Dark Souls is my favorite, even though I think of Bloodborne, and I think Bloodborne's so much better in a way as modern, as they could take it.
Yeah.
But Dark Souls, just what it did on its own, I just feel has just more, I don't know. The story in Bloodborne, oh my god, I love it. And we can get to that.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
From what I understand of that.
Yeah, and man, I would be reading Reddit threads about what people are thinking's going on and all that, and it's just blowing my mind. Okay, so next up, but what are we currently playing? Like, I know you've beat them all. So, like, me, once I beat Dark Souls 2, I still have to go through Demon Souls. But even when I beat them all, I'm going to still play them. So, like, what are you playing right now?
I am still messing around with Bloodborne a little bit. I want to maybe just go through and beat it again. I do want to actually go through the entire game, so I want to use a different one. I'm going to use probably the stake driver, which I like a lot. I am playing Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition. That was free for PlayStation Plus users, so I got that for the PS4. That's quite a bit of fun. I started a game on the DS called Dementium the Ward, which is like a survival horror first-person game, which is pretty fun. I haven't played it in a couple of weeks. I'm kind of on hiatus from it, but it's pretty fun. And I am going to start something on my PS2, maybe tonight or tomorrow. My PS3 just died, actually, over the weekend. Which really sucks, because I was actually thinking of restarting Demon Souls. But, oh well.
I have a dead PS3, by the way. That's why I can't play Demon Souls, because I have Demon Souls. I just can't play it.
Okay. Well, that sucks a lot.
That's the difficulty. That's the first part of the game is your PS3 died. Now I got to try to get to the game.
I know that it sucks. You don't really. It's PS3 or bust, because at least Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 had a PC release, right?
Yep, I'm playing. I have it on. Actually, I have it on PC and PS4. On PC, I have both versions of it too. That's how crazy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You told me that. Yeah. So I was thinking about playing through Demon Souls, but hopefully at some point in the next couple months I'll get a working PS3 again. But yeah, that's what I'm playing. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Okay. Yeah. So for me right now, since I'm going through the series now, I'm actually playing Dark Souls 2. I rented it on PS4, and I was playing it as I was playing Dark Souls, and I just didn't like it at first. I was like, this seems, to be honest, I think it's the 60 frames per second, just make it seem too fast, and I just can't. Anyway, so then I got the collector's edition on PC because I wanted that statue. But the collector's edition is the old version, and they came out with a new version that changes things around, and so you get a $30 upgrade on PC if you already own the other version. This is on Steam. So I upgraded.
Oh, nice.
And so I've been playing that, and you know what? I'm having a good time. It's just not... the enemies are very basic. I know in Dark Souls I'd look at an enemy and be like, that's messed up. What the heck is...
Yeah, that
this?
Is true. A lot of the Dark Souls 2 enemies and bosses aren't amazing. It's a lot of just knights and soldiers and humanoid kind of guys. So that's definitely disappointing. I agree with that.
And it's weird. It's like at first I was like, oh, this is too easy, because at first it seemed pretty easy. But and it is kind of easy. But I would come across enemies that I think like sometimes it's just they just can kill me. Like, and I don't know what it is. It's like how did I let this happen? Even with my shield, it's like they're making me bleed, and I'm like, how is this happening? I don't know. I'm liking it though. It's like I still think it's better than most games out there. So it's not like I don't like it. It's just it wasn't at the level of Dark Souls yet.
No, a lot of people think it's the worst of the series, and I can see why they do.
Yeah.
I don't think that personally, obviously, because as you said, it's probably my favorite, but
cool.
a lot of people see it as like the black sheep of the series.
Well, I'm thinking of doing. Man, I would love to double wield. Did you dual wield? In at all when you played it?
I did. That's the only thing I didn't do. I don't know. I was never confident enough to do it. I always thought, even though I didn't rely on the shield too much, I always knew that I could whip it out if I needed to. And I don't know. Maybe I should go back and try to dual wield, but that's like the only thing I didn't do. Because
I'd love to make a build just like the statue. Just because it looks cool.
Yeah.
It just looks like Dark Souls. But anyway, other than that, so I got Witcher 3 on release, and it's funny because it almost feels like a Dark Souls game because it's you level up. It's open world. Like, this is more open world than a Dark Souls game. But then you get to the combat, and it's just like, it's like if you try to play like Dark Souls where it's like specific, it's like, okay, I know this attack animation is going to be this long. I know the attack animation is going to have this. It doesn't work like that. And this game's just random. It's like there's random attack animations, random, it's just more of, it's just there. It's a function to kind of, it's like a quick little hack and slash to get you to the next part. The game expects you to they're like, oh, is it your level or below? You're going to kill them. Like, you can't encounter a high level and be like, okay, I'm going to get them. It's because things you can't predict will happen and you'll die. And so I like it though. I mean, despite that, I really love Witcher 3. It's just I'm having more of a fun time with Dark Souls 2. So I'll complete that.
Yep.
And then I'll get back to Witcher 3. And then other than that, I mean, I played the Kung Fury game that came out on PC for like $2. And it's nothing, to be honest. It's like there's 2 buttons to it, but it's just I know you like old school games, and it's kind of like that, It's
okay.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for episode 1 of the Soulscast. Thanks for joining, and we're hopefully going to be doing this every week, every 2 weeks. We'll just see how we feel. And next time, I want to bring a beer with me, so I'm more relaxed.
That would be very nice. I would love a beer.
Yeah, it's always nice. Again, you can always find me. Most of you probably found this podcast because of BlueGamer.net. BlueGamer.net. Adam Blue on Twitter. Shane, if you want to.
All my crap here. On Instagram, I'm Kalameet, Kalameet, which is from Dark Souls, from the Dark Souls DLC. And on Twitter, I'm Kalameet, but the L is a 1 because someone already had that handle, so it's Ka1Ameet. Twitter, I mostly just retweet funny things. I don't tweet too much.
And it actually is
but I'm
funny stuff. It's like, that's really good choice of funny things to share. It is entertaining.
I'm much more active on Instagram. Usually, mostly video related, some stuff of my family, my wife, and my daughter, and just some other random stuff, but mostly video games, and I'm pretty active on there.
Yeah, you know what? I should probably, because I haven't done a podcast or anything in a while for Blue Gamer, but I should say my Instagram is Adam R. Blue. Adam Blue is taken, even though they haven't used it in years. I'm waiting for it to become available. But no, that Instagram is great for gamers. Like, you can build communities easily. With Instagram. I think it's great. Anyway, that's it. Let us know what you think for anyone that's watched this in the comments and wherever you see this on YouTube or on the blog. And we'll talk to you guys next time.